Hey everyone! So today we are going to be making this very cute little dinosaur. You can either make this in cotton yarn or some plush yarn. I've got velvet yarn that I've used over here, but it's the same thing. It will work out because this pattern is universal. Alright, let's get straight into it, guys. For the 4-ply cotton yarn that we use, you will need it in lime green, a different darker Christmas green, black and white. Now feel free to change your dinosaur with 2 different colors for the main part of the body. The white is usually for the center or the belly portion and also for the eye highlights, and the black is just for some extra details there. So you can change up these colors if you'd like to. Now with 4-ply cotton yarn, I do use a 1.9mm hook, as you can see here, but feel free to use anywhere between a 1.75 and a 3mm hook. And if you have different style or if you have different yarn like plush yarn or anything like that, and the hook that corresponds to it, feel free to use that because this pattern is universal. Of course, you will need a pair of cutters. You will also need, what I recommend is a wonderful leather needle or a sewing needle, but I do prefer the leather needle just because it's so much easier to weave in and out of those stitch spaces. Usually sewing in leather needles has a small eye compared to a tapestry needle, which has a blunt end and a bigger eye. I wouldn't recommend using a tapestry needle at all. You will also need some pins just to pin the tail. It does help. It's optional, and also pinning the eyes, but if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. And finally, for this dino pattern, you are going to be needing some fiber filling. Okay, we are ready to get straight into this tutorial. Let's go. Alright, so we're going to start off by using any colored yarn. You can have something that's like, you know, red or a light cyan. We're going to have that belly as a white color over here, but something darker will be used for the scale. So choose your color. I'm going to choose this lime, and we're going to start off by making a magic ring. Now, if you don't know how to make a magic ring, I always say go check out my beginner crochet tutorial playlist where you can find all of these little techniques, learn them as quickly as possible. I teach you in what I consider pretty quickly, and then come back and complete any one of my tutorials. Alright, so we're working 6 single crochet stitches inside this magic ring. 1, 2, and how I make my single crochet stitches, I have the yarn come under and then I have the yarn come over just like that. So I've linked a video over here so you can see the different types of single crochet stitches. I won't go into them here, but you can go check out that video and choose which one you like the best. I recommend this or yarn under for amigurumi style projects. So let's make 6 single crochet stitches inside this magic ring. Here is number 6, and then we're going to pull this yarn tail at the end here, and then it depends what you want to do, but you can either finish off with a slip stitch or chain 1. And actually for this, especially if you're a beginner, I would recommend using this slip stitch technique and chain 1, just because we're going to go over these later with the scale, so they're going to be relatively hidden anyway. Alright, round number 2 is where we are making the following. We are going to make increases in every single stitch space. And an increase just means you work 2 single crochet stitches inside the 1 stitch space. So there we go. There's my first increase right there. And we're going to continue on now for another 5 increases, seeing as we have 5 stitch spaces left in the round. So at the end of round 2, you will have a total of 12 stitches in the round. Those are the increases right there. Round 3 now is going to be the following. Start off with a single crochet stitch and then an increase 1, and here's the second single crochet stitch which makes that increase. So single, increase, and we will just repeat this: single, increase, all the way around. For round number 3, you will have 18 stitches at the end of this round. And round number 4 is the following. You will start off with 2 single crochet stitches first, followed by an increase, 1 single crochet stitch, same stitch space, and work the second. Okay, and I just want you to repeat that all the way around now. 2 single crochet stitches and an increase, just like that. Continue on. You will have 24 stitches at the end of this round. Alright, round number 5 is a little bit different, but I'm going to take you through this nice and slowly. Start off with 6 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, grab myself some yarn here, 4, 5, and here's number 6. Finish 6 single crochet stitches. Now from here we are going to perform something or work something called a spike bubble stitch. So spike just means you don't come in this next stitch space, you actually come 1 round below that. one round below that, which would end up being right there. And to incorporate the bubble, you have to wrap the yarn. So spike bubble stitch, we're not coming here, we're coming down here, pull up the yarn and pull through 2, and repeat that again. Wrap the yarn, come in the same stitch space, pull up the yarn and pull through 2, and then we'll do it once more. So you have 3 loops on the hook right here. One more time, wrap the yarn, come in the same stitch space, pull up the yarn and pull through 2. We have 4 loops on the hook right here, and we're going to pull the yarn through those 4 loops on the hook. And there you go, you've just completed your first spike bubble stitch. Excellent job, guys. All right, so from here we have another 10 single crochet stitches to go. So there's 1, push that bubble stitch out. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And something that I'll tell you here as well is keep these stitches as straight as possible by, as you're pulling through those 2 loops on the hook, you pull as vertical as possible. And even to the left if you're a right-handed crocheter, if you can. So that's number 5. So see, pulling vertical and to the left. 6, 7, keep those stitches as straight as possible. I've linked a video over here so you can tell how to keep those stitches straight. 8, here's number 9, and here is number 10. There are 10 little single crochet stitches between that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now we are going to perform another spike bubble stitch. So here we go. We're going to wrap the yarn, not come in this stitch space, but come 1 round below that, enter that hook in there, pull up the yarn and pull through 2, and repeat. Boom, and pull through 2. One more time to repeat this and finish this off. Wrap the yarn, come in here, pull up the yarn, pull through 2. 4 loops on the hook is when we pull the yarn through all 4. There's our second spike bubble stitch, and we should have 6 single crochet stitches left. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, exactly that. So let's come in here. Here's number 1. Keep those stitches straight again. I'll try to remind you as often as possible. There's number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. You guys just completed a difficult, or one of the most difficult rounds, I would say, and you did it, so well done. So that's round number 5 nicely complete right there. And now for the next 3 rounds, well, actually no, let's do this one at a time. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've just completed the 5th round as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In this round right here, we're doing something a little different. We're going to be adding these 4 white single crochet stitches in the middle of that stomach. So let's do that together. So let's start off with some single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep those stitches straight. Here's number 7, here's number 8, number 9, and here's number 10. And this is where we're going to change our yarn color to white. So grab that white colored yarn and pull it through to complete that 10th single crochet stitch in the round. And now from here, you're going to complete another 4 single crochet stitches in white, and you can weave in that white and green or lime green yarn color as it comes over the top of the hook for at least the first 1 or 2 stitches that you make in your white color. And here's number 4, and this is where we are going to change back now to our lime green. So grab that lime green and pull it through on that 4th white single crochet stitch. And then for the remaining stitches, they will just be in lime green and have that white yarn tail over the top of the hook for at least the first single crochet stitch. And guys, I'm going to let you continue now with the round number 6, and we'll come back together on round number 7. Here's what we're looking like. Now for round number 7, you're going to start off with 9 single crochet stitches this time. And remember, keep those stitches straight by moving that hook more to the left and vertical at least as you're pulling through those 2 loops on the hook. So here we go. We have 9 single crochet stitches to get through. Here's number 9, and we're going to change the color to white at this point. Now it's coming from this direction here, so we need to kind of drag it across and allow ourselves to have enough yarn to be able to do that. We don't want to tighten this. And then you're just going to work 6 single crochet stitches in white, and that's it. So 6 single crochet stitches in white, that's number 3. Here's number 4, number 5, and number 6. Change our yarn color to lime green, and then continue the rest of those stitches in lime green. And I just want you to also repeat that for round number 8 as well. Now let us get on to round number 9 together. We are going to have a decrease round here, and it's going to be the following. So you'll start it with 9 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and here's 9. Change the yarn color to white. Drag it across here, change it to white, and we're going to work a decrease right here. And when we do the decrease, if you haven't done this before, we work the hook through the front loop of the first stitch, then the front loop of the second stitch, and then pull the yarn through both of those loops and pull the yarn through, and that is called an invisible decrease. Invisible decrease right there. Then I want you to work another 2 single crochet stitches, 1 and 2, with another invisible decrease, front loop, pull the yarn through, and this time change your yarn color back to green, just like that. And continue on now with your lime single crochet stitches, and maybe just for the first couple, weave in that white colored yarn. And here we are at round number 10. We will start with 5 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And can you see how these stitches are lining up very neatly in this vertical fashion? They're not leaning to the right side. This is what you get when you start pulling that yarn vertically and towards the left. Okay, so after that 5th single crochet stitch, you are going to work a spike bubble stitch again. Wrap the yarn. Don't come here, come 1 round below this, directly underneath. Pull up the yarn and pull through 2, and repeat another two times. Here's the second time, and here's the third in total. 4 loops on the hook at this point. Pull the yarn through all 4 loops, just like that. Finish off with another 3 in lime. After your 2 single crochet stitches in lime, you are going to work an invisible decrease. Pull the yarn through, and this time change your yarn color to white, just like that. Then you'll have 2 single crochet stitches here in white, 1 and 2, and it's up to you at this point. Actually, I think we will change our yarn color back to lime green. Pull the yarn through and work another invisible decrease. We have another 2 single crochet stitches here, and I'm just going to weave in that white colored yarn to secure it. So 1 and 2, and from here we will create our second spike bubble stitch for the arm. So we're wrapping the yarn, not coming here but coming 1 round below, and in the same way that we have done another 3 times, we will make this spike bubble stitch as well. So wrap the yarn, come in that same stitch space, pull up the yarn and pull through 2, leaving yourselves eventually with 4 loops on the hook, and then you're pulling that lime green yarn through all 4 loops on the hook. And from here, let's see how many single crochet stitches we have left. 1, 2, keeping those stitches straight, 3, 4, and there will be 5 in total for the end of this round. Don't forget slip stitch and chain 1 to finish off your rounds, and this is very important because we will use this slip stitch later to create our little spikes. So we are looking like this so far. It is wonderful. Go ahead now and chop off your white colored yarn because you no longer need this. And let's continue on with the next round. Round number 11 is the following. You'll start with a single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease. And you're going to repeat this another 5 times. Single first, followed by invisible decrease. So that we've got another 4 to go. Single, invisible decrease. 3 to go. Single, and I'll do this with you. Invisible decrease. Single, invisible decrease, another one over here, single, this is our last one, number 6, invisible decrease, and you will have 2 stitches left, and we will just work single crochet stitches into those last 2 stitch spaces. Finish off with your slip stitch and chain 1, and here's what we look like so far. Round number 12 is not too difficult. You'll start off with 4 single crochet stitches, 1, 2, 3, and here's number 4, followed by 6 increases in a row. So here is the first increase coming into the next stitch space, and we're working the second increase. And remember, keep those stitches straight. I want you to repeat this now until you have 6 increases in total. We've got 3. Here is number 4, number 5, and number 6 over here. So we've just completed and worked those 6 increases. This is trying to get a little bit larger portion over here, and you'll just be left with 4 single crochet stitches to finish off round number 12. So let's just complete those 4 single crochet stitches for round number 12, and then completing the round with a slip stitch and a chain 1. And there we go. For round number 13, it's fairly simple. You want to start off with 2 single crochet stitches first, followed by an increase, 1 and 2. Now I want you to repeat this pattern another 5 times, 6 in total, and then you will have 2 stitches at the end where you will make 2 single crochet stitches just according to this pattern down the bottom here. So that is round number 13. And here's what we look like after round number 13. Now for round number 14, we are going to start with an increase, 1 and 2. From there, we will have 24 single crochet stitches, and then in the last stitch space, you will have an increase as well. And that there's the completion of that round. So now for the next 3 rounds, you will just work 28 single crochet stitches. So 28 single crochet stitches for the next 3 rounds. That's rounds 15, 16, and 17. Again, 28 stitches for single crochet stitches next 3 rounds. All right, we finished round number 17 there, those 3 rounds of straight stitches. Everything is looking wonderful. Now what we need to do is begin round number 18, and round number 18 is going to be the following. You'll start off with 4 single crochet stitches. Actually, no, you will start off with 5 single crochet stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, followed by an invisible decrease. Front loop, pull the yarn through, pull the yarn through. So repeat that 4 times in total, 5 single crochet stitches, invisible decrease. All right, so we've just finished that round there. We are looking very good. We're almost finished the body. Now for round number 19, you are just going to continue on with 24 stitches all the way around. So 24 stitches for round number 19. And for round number 20, you will begin with 2 single crochet stitches first, followed by an invisible decrease, and you are going to repeat that same pattern, 2 invisible decrease, a total of 6 times, giving you 18 stitches at the end of this round. Round number 21 is the following. Now if you want to add your fiber filling at this point, feel free to do so. I'm going to add it after this round. So we're going to start off for round number 21 with a single crochet stitch first, followed by an invisible decrease. Now if you repeat that total of 6 times, you will have 12 stitches at the end of round number 21. And we've finished round number 21. I have done the slip stitch and now I'm chaining 1, but I'm going to pull this a little bit more so it doesn't unravel, and this is where I'm going to start adding some fiber filling to the body. When it comes to adding fiber filling, you want to add layer by layer, small layers at a time. So you're just working this in with a small layer, and then you'll just use a pair of cutters to kind of condense and compress it at the bottom there. And you're going to keep doing that layer by layer by layer by layer until you get right to the top. And that way you kind of help with the compression, so you get rid of the air. It keeps it nice and evenly distributed with that fiber filling, and you don't get any spaces or pockets, and you don't have overstuffing as well. So I'll let you guys continue that until you get right up to the top. And we have filled this up right to the top, and at this point we have one more round to go. So let us complete this final round, grabbing our yarn, inserting our hook over here just like that. And then from here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to work 6 invisible decreases. 6, yes, because we have worked with a slip stitch and chain 1, or a joining chains with our rounds. That probably didn't come out the best. But in any case, we've got 6 invisible decreases. That is number 3. Here is number 4. Try not to get the fiber feeling involved with those stitches. There's number 5, and we have 1 more to go. Number 6. There we go. Okay, coming into the very first stitch space of the round and just working a regular slip stitch as we normally have. You'll pull your yarn through and you're going to cut and leave yourselves about a good 15 centimeter yarn tail, 15 to 20 centimeters. And there we go. Here's the body, nice and squishy. We also have the top where we need to close this up right now. You know what I did, guys? I just started doing this automatically and I forgot to show you. All right, so this is exactly what you need to do. I've kind of finished it here, but same principle. Have your yarn tail come through the center of your sewing needle. Then you will have 6 stitches to work in, and you're going to be working in the front loops only of each of those remaining stitch spaces in a clockwise direction, one after the other. So you're coming through here. This is my last one. Totally forgot to record it. There we go. So let's say you've done all 6 now. You've gone through the front loops of all 6, and now you're ready to pull your yarn tail to close the top. Close, 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 close. And there we go, nicely closed. Push any little bumps into the center if you can while still pulling. Then you'll have your needle come through the center, and you can come out anywhere because it's all lime green. And then give that a little bit of a pull and it just closes it up even more. And again, if you see any bumps, just weave it into the center there until you've got a nice flat head. All right, and from here, can you see these stitches? We've got these sort of this X shape with this diagonal on top of the one underneath. So we are going to follow that same pattern with the one that's over the top and have our needle come here. So our yarn is always being woven in that diagonal manner from our right, if we're looking this way, to left. So I'm going to pull this and you'll see this just work seamlessly on top, and you won't even notice that we've woven in there. Never go vertical, never go horizontal, always go diagonal and try and find the dominant one and go on top of that. And that is how you weave in the yarn to keep all of those stitches super neat. That's actually a really good tip. I should probably put that as one of my short video tips, right? All right, so continuing that, repeat a good 4 to 5 times in total, and it just comes across the top right there. Once you're finished, you will just cut the excess yarn and push in any little detail that is stuck out back inside the body / head to hide it in place. And there we go. There's the body of our little dinosaur complete. We are now going to complete the tail portion. So I want you to start off by making a magic ring. You've done this before with the beginning of the body. So make that magic ring. And then I want you to work 5 single crochet stitches inside this magic ring. 1, here's number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. And I do want you to finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. And we're going to keep this consistent with the body, because remember, when it comes to it, we're going to include the spikes along those slip stitches, which I'll show you towards the end. It's just so helpful, especially as a beginner crocheter. Chain 1, round number 2 is as follows. You are just going to actually work 5 single crochet stitches again, so no increases, no decreases. 5 single crochet stitches for round number 2, and you'll also do this for round number 3, but I want to quickly show you after we make these 5 single crochet stitches. Hold on. How many have I got there? I think that's 3. Here's number 4. And here is number 5. Just like that. And then I want you to turn this the right way around, because if you leave that too late, it becomes very difficult to turn it inside out or outside in. Come back in here and work your slip stitch and chain 1, and continue on round number 3 now with your 5 single crochet stitches as well. For round number 4, we will do the following. You'll start off with a single crochet stitch. And make sure you're not working in these back ones. I know the circumference is quite small, so you just have to be very careful here. Single crochet stitch first, followed by an increase, 1, same stitch space, work a second single crochet stitch. Repeat that again. So you want a single crochet stitch first, and then you'll have the increase, 1 and 2, and finish off in the last stitch space with an increase. Just like that. Slip stitch, chain 1 to finish. You've got 7 stitches now in the round. For the next 3 rounds, this is rounds 5, 6, and 7. You are just working 7 single crochet stitches. Nice and easy. Just continue with that for the next 3 rounds. And for round number 8, we're going to start off with 2 single crochet stitches first. 1. Here is number 2, followed by an increase. 1 and 2. Repeat all of that again. And if you want to chop that yarn tail at this point, you can, because sometimes it does get in the way. It's 2 single crochet stitches, increase, and you will have 1 stitch space left, and you'll just work a single crochet stitch in there. So you should have now 9 stitches in the round. Super easy. Now for the next 3 rounds, rounds 9, 10, and 11, it will just be 9 single crochet stitches in every round. Again, that's for the next 3 rounds. Round number 12 will be the following. You'll start off with 2 single crochet stitches and then an increase. 1, and here's the second single crochet stitch to make that increase. Now I want you to repeat that another 2 times. You will have 12 stitches at the end of round 12. Rounds 13 and 14 will just be 12 single crochet stitches. So that's 2 rounds, 12 single crochet stitches for rounds numbers 13 and 14. Okay, so for round number, let's see, round number 15, I do believe it is, we're going to start off with 3 single crochet stitches. 1, 2, and 3, followed by an increase. 1 and second single crochet stitch to finish that increase. Repeat this pattern, 3 single crochet stitches, increase, to finish off round number 15. And that's exactly where we will finish. Now, if you wanted any longer, I would just suggest making rounds of 15. But we are going to finish off here now, so we're going to pull the yarn through. Leave yourselves a good 20 centimeter tail at the end here. And you're going to add some fiber filling in very small layers. Again, you need to add in small layers definitely. So I'm going to add something like this and then push it in there. You'll need something as well to push it in there, especially if you didn't add as you went along, and I didn't. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to push, 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 and I'm going to add about halfway or maybe 3/4 of the way before I sew on, because when I sew on, I'll add the remaining portion. If we added it all the way to the top, it's going to be hard to sew just because everything's going to be pushing out. Okay, so when it comes to your dinosaur eyes, if you've got a small cotton plushie like this and you've used a 1.9mm hook or thereabouts, I would only do the following. So you're just going to work a magic ring. This is super simple, nothing too difficult here. Just a magic ring, and work 6 single crochet stitches inside this magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is the 6th single crochet stitch. Pull that yarn tail and then come into that very first single crochet stitch of round number 1, the first one that you made. There we go. Give this yarn tail a little bit of a pull and then make a slip stitch. And that's all you'll do. Now, if you needed to make bigger eyes, so say for instance you made something like this, which looks amazing, but you're using plush or velvet yarn or whatever it may be, it's just thicker yarn in general, then what I would suggest here is 6 in a magic ring and then increase in the second round. And if you wanted bigger, make in the third round single increase until you've got 18 stitches or so on. Now, if you find that those eyes are too big, you can start with 5 single crochet stitches in a magic ring, increase in the second round, so you have 10 stitches total, etc., etc. But we are going to leave ours here. We're going to cut a bit of a yarn tail so that we can sew the eye to the body later on. I really like sewing eyes on, just because it's a lot safer, especially if you're giving these as like toys to a toddler or whatnot. Just way safer. They don't tug on those eyes and they're nicely secured. So there's my eye. You're making 2 in total. All right, so we are at this next point now. We can't make the scales until we have sewn on the tail. So let us pin the tail to the donkey, to the dinosaur at the butt, so it's kind of like at the back end right here, and you want it such that those slip stitches align. So you can see my tail, I've got my slip stitches here, and it's just aligned very well, or as best as possible, with the slip stitches of the body. Now there may be some little odd curves here and there, but not too bad. It's usually generally quite straight. And then from there, we've added a little bit of fiber filling to about 3/4 of the way of the tail. We're going to add more, but first we need to start sewing down. So pin this around, align it well, and then come over here, and we're just going to start sewing to the body, stitch by stitch. So here's where I'm beginning. And I want you to, I would say come in the back loops only, but in this case, I want you to come from in to out, in both the front and back loops. So just those front and back loops, and you can remove the pins as you go. So here we go. We've done 1 right now. Coming back underneath here, you don't want the yarn tail to come further out, because if I sewed like over here, it will be very obvious where my sewing is. So that's just a quick tip. Always try and keep underneath. And you don't always have to come out in a stitch space as well. If you've got a sharp enough needle, you should be able to go anywhere. So again, you're going to have to lift it up just a little to get underneath into out, and this is why pins really do help. Now if you don't have pins, it's not the end of the world. It does make things a lot easier, but again, it is possible to do this without pins as well. You've just got to really hold it in place there. So I want you to keep doing this over and over until you've finished about 3/4 again. So until you get to about this pin over here on the opposite side, because then we can add some fiber filling in there before we close it up completely. So I'm going to let you guys do this on your own until you get to about 3/4 all the way around, keeping the stitches underneath. And when I say underneath, you can see, like, if I have my sewing here and I went way out here, this is not good. If I went up here, you would still see a little bit of sewing. So instead, you're always kind of getting just underneath and coming out any stitch space or in between the stitch space, but you do need a sharp needle to do that. So I recommend sewing or leather needle, not a tapestry needle. If tapestry needle is all you have, then that's what you will just have to work with. But otherwise, continue on, guys, until you've finished 3/4 of the tail. And here we are now about 3/4 of the way in. We can see this little bit of a gap here, and I am just going to use a pair of cutters to get right in there. If you've got a pair of tweezers or something else that can kind of fit in here, grab that fiber filling and add it in from the side in small layers until you've just filled up your tail all the way. It should have already been filled up about 3/4 of the way, but just that last little quarter, I want you to fill it up with fiber filling just to make it nice and firm. And just continue on to finish off the sewing. Just that last little bit there. There should be about 3 or 4 stitches to get into in total. So you can see here I'm coming up in my last stitch now. Now if you missed any stitches on the way around, go back and fill them up. It's not too difficult. You kind of just come down to the other side or wherever it is. So I'm coming into my last little slip stitch over here, and I will sew in that slip stitch too, just to make it a bit more neat, and you've got nothing left out. Okay, and then I'll come up here and I'm going to leave this as is. I'll try and tie it to something later. So I'll just come a little bit closer because I know an eye is going to be here, another eye is going to be here, and I'll have a little bit of a mouth and the nose. So maybe when I'm doing the mouth and the nose or any of those French knots, I'll tie it to this yarn tail. Or if you really want to, you can just weave it in. Watch this. So weave it in the same way that you did after you closed up the head. Weave it in like this, 1, 2, especially because the color's the same. So you can see there's multiple ways of keeping this nicely secured, and you don't just have to leave the yarn tail undone like that. So there we go, that's nicely secured now. chop off your yarn and push it in the body to hide. And there is our little dinosaur tail and body now all completely on. So now we have, let us do, perhaps this is a good time to start those spike stitches for the spikes all the way down here. When it comes to the spikes, this is probably the trickiest portion of our entire dinosaur. Now, it's not tricky in the sense of what the stitches are, although you do need to kind of twist a little bit. It's more tricky in the fact that you need to come into these little stitch spaces. So can you see these stitches over here? See these stitches? And can you see if I went through here to here, that is a stitch space. If I went from here to here, that's a stitch space, and that's exactly what you are going to be doing. You want to find the center, as much of the center as possible, and stick your hook in. Now, it can be any one of these front loops kind of over here. You can start here and work your way down. You want to find that slip stitch and have it aligned eventually to that slip stitch as well. You don't want to start way over here and then come diagonally in. So this is why that slip stitch, having it roughly at the center, is important. And as you turn this around, this should be aligned roughly at the center as well. Now, you can come in, you could start here, you could start a little bit further up, you could start a little bit further down. It's up to you where you want to begin those spikes. And in any case, once you've entered your hook through that stitch space, you want to pull your spike colored yarn through that stitch space, just like that. You've pulled it through, and you are going to chain not one, but you will chain 2 in total. So we've chained 2 now right there. Now from here, in the same stitch, you are going to be working a double crochet stitch. Now, with a double crochet stitch, I haven't shown you this before. Now, if you're familiar with it, fantastic. If you're not, this is what it is. You need to wrap the yarn first, and then you need to come in that same stitch space where you began. See how I'm in there now? I want the yarn tail on top of the hook so you can weave it in there. If you can't do this, that's okay, because we can weave it in later. But try and have it on top of the hook, and then pull yarn through and pull it up just a little. Now you have 3 loops on the hook, and I want you to pull the yarn through 2 loops at a time. So that's 2 loops there and 2 loops right there. Okay, so you've just completed your double crochet stitch, which is fantastic. Now from here, you will chain 2 again. 1, 2. And now this is something called a picot stitch. So you're not coming in these chains 1 and 2. Instead, where you finished off that double crochet stitch, can you see the back loop of it? It's right there. And then you want to go into that side loop as well. It's usually fairly easy to find. And once you've done that, you're basically just making a slip stitch coming through that side, and you just call that a picot stitch. That's all it means. But in order to get this loop in here, you kind of have to twist your hook so that it's coming up a little bit. So make sure you're doing that twisty motion as well. From here, I want you to wrap the yarn because we are making a double crochet stitch. And I want you to come into the next stitch space. So here's our little slip stitch at the back, and we do have to eventually line it up with that. So I'm going to come roughly over here. You can have this yarn tail over the top of the hook again, and then you'll pull the yarn through and pull through 2, and then pull through 2 again to finish off that double crochet stitch. Then I want you to chain 2, 1 and 2. And in that same stitch space, enter your hook. Oops. So you can see this part is a little bit tricky. You do need to have it a little bit closer to you and hold your fingers so that you're a bit more stable. And then pull the yarn through. Give a little bit of a twist and turn until you slip stitch into the loop on your hook. And that is your first little spike. Now we are going to alternate this longer or taller spike with a shorter one that we'll do now together. Now it's from here that you're going to do the following. Just chain 1. Whoopsie, we lost our place. I'll just come back in here over here. So chain 1 again. And guys, the good news is if you've done one spike, if you've done one of these spikes, you'll be able to do all of them, no problem. It's just a little bit of getting in these stitch spaces, and that's it. So you're going to start off now by finding the next sort of area where you can come in and make a single crochet stitch, just like that. From here, you're going to be making a half double crochet stitch in the next stitch. So half double crochet stitch is a little bit different from a double. It's kind of a step down from it, but a step up from a single crochet stitch. So you still wrap your yarn. You're coming into a new stitch space, so we're going to find one that's further across down here, but directly after. So we're coming in right here, and then I'm going to pull the yarn through, and you'll have the yarn come through all 3 loops in one go, and that is what you call a half double crochet stitch. From here, you are going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then in the same way as you did before, we are making this picot stitch, and you want the hook to come in the back loop of that half double crochet stitch plus the side loop. That should be relatively accessible right there. Then you'll pull the yarn through and basically slip stitch into the loop on your hook, giving that a little bit of a twist, and that there is your picot stitch all finished. Now from here, you are going to make a half double crochet stitch in the same stitch space that you just entered into. So here we are, and here is our half double crochet, pulling it all the way through. Then I want you to chain 1, and again you are going to come in the same stitch space and work a slip stitch. Oops, I don't want to cover my fingers there so you can't see anything. Slip stitch right there, and there's your smaller spike. There we go, guys. Now you're basically repeating these 2 types of stitches all the way down here. But when you get close over here, I want you to do the small stitch. This one's the smaller one. And then as you get to the first little spike here in the tail, you also want to do the smaller one. So you got 2 small ones over here, and then you go back to your large, small, large, small. And if you want to manipulate this however you want as well, feel free to do so. There's no exact way of doing this. I'm just showing you 2 different ways of making a larger spike and a smaller spike. So basically, if you wanted to continue now, all you would need to do is you'd basically make 2 chains right here, and then wrap the yarn. And remember, we started by attaching the yarn here, and then we chained 2 and went in the same stitch space. This time you've chained 2, but you come in the next stitch space because you don't want to have it in the same stitch space again. So you're coming in the next stitch space, and then everything is the same from here. You'd make your double crochet stitch first, followed by your chaining of 2, followed by your picot stitch in the back loop of the double crochet plus the side stitch, and it's just that slip stitch. I keep saying slip stitch, but altogether that is called a picot stitch. And then from there, you are going to work another half double crochet stitch in the next stitch space, and this is now where I can clearly see these slip stitches, and we're just going exactly across there all the way. You'll make a double crochet stitch from here, coming through. Here's your double, just like that. And then from here, you want to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then you'll come back in that same stitch space and just work a slip stitch to finish off the big spike again. And now you're up to making the small spike, and I'm just going to get you guys to continue this on now all the way until the bottom of your tail, and we'll come back together. So remember, small stitch here, small stitch here, small, small. You don't want too big so they're overlapping each other. Just be wary of that. And if you want to change the way that you do these spikes, feel free to do so as well. I'm going to leave you guys doing that so you can get through all of these little spikes on your dinosaur. I do want to quickly mention here that towards the bottom here, I had a few extra spaces to work into. So what I did was, instead of just, well, you can manipulate this however you want, but what I did, just in case, I did like an extra single crochet stitch at the end. I may have done an extra half double crochet. I think I did a single half, and I just went into the next stitch instead of the same stitch, just to fill up those spaces, just make sure it still looks decent. And then once I'm here, I'm going back to my normal pattern all the way. So however you want to do this is more than fine. You're just kind of trying to end up here with a small scale and a small scale over here as well, just so that they don't run into each other. Sometimes you may want to just chain 1 instead of chain 2 before that picot stitch. You can kind of manipulate these spikes however you want to, and I'm just telling you here so that it's not completely black and white. So I definitely hope that helps. And I've just finished all of those spikes. I've manipulated them, especially this last one, just a little bit. I think I did a half. Then in the next stitch I did a double. I did the picot stitch after chaining 2, and then I went directly into the next one with a half double, then chain 2, and then did a slip stitch. So it's just like little manipulations like that, but the basic pattern is there for you, and you can just work off that and manipulate how you need to. Once you've done that final slip stitch, you'll pull the yarn tail through. Now you don't need a big yarn tail here. Maybe like 10 centimeters is decent enough, because all you will do with this is have these 2 yarn tails. So this one can be woven in, and if you didn't weave it in already here, you can weave it inside the body and come out somewhere in the midpoint between the tail and here. Have this yarn tail also come out in the same stitch space, tie them together in a double knot, cut and hide in the body. So I'm going to do that now. First yarn tail coming through, just like that. Weave that one to here as well. Here's this yarn tail. I couldn't reach all the way here, so I'm just coming out in this stitch space first. Pull through. If you need a pair of pliers, please go get yourself some. And we're just going to pull this through. Pull, 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 pull. Nice, that's all in now. And then we will just come directly from here into the body, into that stitch space, pulling through. Now we've got those 2 yarn tails together. We will tie them in a double knot. This is the first time I think you've seen me tie it in this tutorial, tie it in a double knot. So the first one is tied in the double. You want to tie this a little bit tighter, give it a bit more of a pull, so we're nice and secure there. Chop any excess, or you can weave it straight in and then just hide the extra portion of that yarn tail inside the body. You can kind of squish it in there or pull it from afar. And this is what we're looking like, guys. I'm just going to fix this up. Oh, I think I've missed a loop over here, but that's okay. We can just dig this in, or I can go over it with a bit of green yarn. Not the end of the world. All right, we must have just nicked something there, but that is almost in. All right, so once you've done all of that, give that tail a little bit of a straighten. It doesn't need to be curved down, but if it starts curving down naturally, that is more than fine. So there we go. There are the spikes of our little dinosaur. Now we just have to sew the eyes on, complete the eyes, nose, and mouth. Super easy. If you've done this, you can do literally anything with crochet at this point. So let us continue on now with the eyes. When it comes to sewing on the eyes, first pin them so that they're kind of at the side. Now, it doesn't really matter between what rows they are or anything like that. You just want to have a look at it and see where it looks good, and have both of those eyes relatively in the same spot on either side, and then have this space between it. And that's it. Now when you grab your yarn tail, what you will be doing in the same way that what do we do? The tail over here. You'll have the yarn needle coming kind of underneath to the side of those eyes. You don't want it coming too far out. And then instead of going through both loops, you're only going to go through the back loop coming in and out. Go through the back loops only, all the way around. You'll only have 6 stitch spaces to get through, and make sure your needle is sharp so that you don't have to get through each stitch space. You can go kind of anywhere at this point, and that just makes it easier for you. So again, back loops only, all the way around until your eyes are nicely secured and you can't see the sewing with those eyes as well. Now, it's not the end of the world if you do see the sewing, but tip for keeping underneath, or tip for not seeing the sewing, you want to keep your needle, or your, what is this called? Yes, your needle underneath the eye. I get so confused with all of these tools now that we're using. It's kind of like, I don't know, when I was growing up, little story time, because I had 8 siblings, so you could always hear the parents like getting through everyone's name except yours. So it's I kind of feel the same just with the crochet tools. There's so many different crochet little tools and utensils that we need to use that sometimes I do get confused. All right, so we're coming in here, and I'm just going to have this woven in any stitch space. It doesn't matter where, just as long as there's an easy accessible stitch space that I can get into with the other yarn tail as well. So there's one of my eyes all nicely sewn, and I'm going to take out that pin. So there's one eye. I want to do the exact same with the other eye now, so I'm going to let you guys do that on your own. yarn tails emerge in the same spot. Cut after you have tied it in a double knot, and then hide it inside the head or the body or wherever that stitch space was. And then that will be the end of the eyes. We just need to add the white portion of the eyes, the nose, and the mouth, and then we're done. Okay, so once we get this inside, give it a little bit of a push sometimes. And you can kind of come in other stitch spaces and just give it like a drag across until it is hidden. Okay, there we go, all hidden, and we've got the dinosaur eyes nicely secured on. Now we need to add a little bit of the white of the eyes, but should we just do the nose and the mouth first? Perhaps we should do that first, and then we'll get onto the whites of the eyes. Cut yourselves about a 40cm piece of black yarn, and I want you to take away 2 strands, and you can do this one at a time. It's made of 4 if you're using 4-ply cotton yarn. If you need to get a little bit more creative, like here I used plush yarn, but here I'm just using your normal 4-ply cotton yarn, just to make it easier. For the eyes as well, I used your cotton yarn too. So just a little bit of extra help there. So I'm taking 1 strand away, and then I'm going to take another strand away. Sometimes if you take 2 strands away at once, it gets a little bit tangled, so I prefer to just do 1 strand at a time, especially if you've already pre-cut this. So here we go. I've got my 2 strands, which now we call 2-ply cotton yarn, and I'm going to weave this through the eye of my needle. And then from here I need to locate where I want this nose to be, so I'm going to come through here and here, somewhere at the center, and just coming down 1, 2 stitch spaces. So I'm starting here, and you kind of just need to eyeball this really. So I'm coming here, it's kind of at the midpoint of the eye, if you will, and then it just goes down 1 stitch space. Like, that's how easy this can be made. Get rid of that yarn tail and just do the same over here. If you want to put it on a little bit more of that diagonal, feel free to do so as well. It doesn't need to be completely straight. And when it comes to the mouth, I'm going to come below the eye. So here's my eye, and I'm coming like kind of on the edge of that eye, 1 stitch or 1 stitch space below the eye as well. I'm coming over here, finishing off the nose, and then this mouth is going to lay across all the way here. So I could go down further if I wanted to as well. Just depends how you want this to look. And then I'm just coming straight back up here to complete this mouth. Now, since I'm coming down to this row down here, what I'll do is have one of these stitches come out in one of these stitches, and then wrap around my yarn and come into the same stitch space. I'm going to do that across the other side as well. Doesn't matter what direction, right or left, that you're coming out of. It's just that you want to go and wrap around the yarn. And if you wanted to do it at the center to fully secure that in place, feel free to do so as well. Just as long as it's nicely secured, you should be good. And then we're just going to have, once again, this is the 3rd time now you've seen this, those 2 yarn tails coming out at the same spot. Mouth is completely finished with the nose. Super easy. Tie these in a double knot and hide. For the eye highlights, chop yourself a little bit of a white piece of yarn, maybe 30 centimeters in total. Weave it through your yarn needle, and then from here you can start out anywhere. It doesn't matter where you go. So we might just make sure it's easy to get into from underneath the center of that magic ring in the black eye. You just want to make sure you're getting right in the center, and you may need a small needle for this as well, just to make it easier for yourselves, but the aim is to get right in the center, and just hold it as you're pulling through as well. You don't want to pull this drastically. Okay, and then you're coming across on a diagonal, and you'll come kind of in this little area over here, and then work yourselves back to the center. You see how I went through there? I didn't go directly into the body or the head. I went into the side of my eye, pulling this. Not too hard though, because you don't want to leave this with a weird indentation. And then I'm coming directly now down below. Now, if you need to wrap again, you wouldn't come directly down below. You'd go in the same spot and wrap again. But once you're finished, you come directly down into the head now. And then you can come out anywhere else. Watch this. Beautiful. Okay, there's our first eye highlight right there. Now if you were doing a bigger one, I'd have a little bit of a highlight as well further down here too. Okay, and now we need to do the other side. So in the same way, I came out here just because I made it easier for myself, but my yarn needle's gonna my yarn needle's gonna come there, and I'm gonna come out, emerge in the center of my black eye at the same time. Hold it down and pull, and then you want this also. Now you could do it in the same direction, and usually highlights are usually in the same direction, so we should keep this in the same direction as well. So come across that diagonal. You might be inclined to go this way, but go this way. Keep it the same highlight as this one. And then, so you're going through that diagonal across the side, back out in the center. Give this also a nice pull. Boom. And just do it once more, but come directly down this time, and you will finish off where this yarn tail is. Over here. Pull, 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 pull. There's your second highlight all done right there. 2 yarn tails, you know what to do with them. I'll let you tie them in a double knot, cut and hide. Now, if you wanted to add French knots like I've done over here, 1, 2, 3, one on the other side, I've linked a video over here so you can see exactly how to do that. And there you go, guys. That is the end of our cute little dinosaur. As you can see here, we've got very cute little dinosaurs. And if you wanted to make a big one as well with bigger yarn, the pattern will work out exactly the same. We just use some cotton yarn over here to make it a little bit more detailed with that cotton yarn. It's so much easier to do those extra details on cotton yarn with plush type yarn. So there we go, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this one. And also, finally, if you did want to add a keychain, you'd have to come here somewhere in the center. If you just added a keychain, you'd probably, you know, have it come up here. But if you wanted to add a yarn chain, that's a little bit different. You could come sort of in this space or underneath here, or in the head somewhere, like fully under here, somewhere in the center. Chain 50 or 65, and then when you come back, you come the opposite end, this way to that way, making sure your chain is straight. And again, I've linked a video just to show you the principles of making that yarn chain, so go check that out. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and help this channel grow. Don't forget, you can also donate to this channel, link in the description, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. All our patterns are on Etsy, and yeah, go check it out. All right, thanks guys, bye.